Don't drink that tea, Mom. My son's small, trembling voice broke the silence just as I lifted the cup to my lips. I froze. The way he said it, sharp, scared, certain, sent a shiver crawling down my spine. "What did you say, Ethan?" I asked, forcing a smile. He didn't smile back. His eyes darted toward the kitchen doorway, then back at me. "Please, Mom, just don't." I had no idea that those 5 words from my 10-year-old son would change my life forever, or that, within 24 hours, everything I believed about love, family, and safety would be torn apart. But before I continue, tell me where you're watching from. I love knowing how far our stories travel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. I share real stories that remind us how fragile trust can be. My name is Evelyn, I'm 55 years old, and until that night, I thought I was living a simple, peaceful life. I've been married to Daniel for 15 years, my second marriage. We met when I was already raising Ethan alone. Daniel was kind, attentive, and patient, everything I thought I needed after years of loneliness. For a long time, I truly believed I'd found my safe place again. That Thursday evening was quiet, almost too quiet. The sky outside was the color of wet steel, rain sliding down the window like tears. Daniel had come home early. He said he wanted to take care of me, that I'd been looking tired lately, that I needed rest. He made tea for both of us. That, in itself, should have warned me. Daniel never made tea. He moved around the kitchen with a calmness that now feels rehearsed. "Chamomile, right?" he asked, glancing over his shoulder with that polite half-smile. "Always," I replied, not suspecting a thing. He set the cup in front of me gently. Steam curled up between us, carrying the faint scent of something sweet, and something else I couldn't place. Ethan was sitting across the table, his homework open but untouched. His small fingers clutched his pencil, but his eyes were fixed on the cup in front of me. When I reached for it, that's when he whispered, "Don't drink that tea, Mom." Daniel's head turned sharply. His jaw tightened for a split second, so quick I almost missed it. "Ethan," he said with forced lightness, "don't be silly. It's just tea." But my son's voice trembled. "I heard you, Dad." The room fell silent. The ticking wall clock suddenly sounded deafening. I frowned. "Heard him what, sweetheart?" Ethan's throat bobbed as he swallowed. "On the phone. He said it'll be over soon. That after tonight, we'd be free." Daniel's expression shifted instantly, from surprise to controlled anger. "That's enough," he barked. Ethan flinched so hard his pencil rolled off the table. I'd never seen Daniel raise his voice like that before, not at our son. "Daniel," I said quietly, "there's no need to—" But Ethan's voice broke through mine, desperate and small. "He said you won't feel a thing, Mom." My blood ran cold. I turned slowly toward my husband. His face had gone pale, but his voice was steady. "Rachel," he caught himself. "Evelyn, this is ridiculous. He's just making things up. Why would he?" I whispered. He looked away. "He's been watching too many mystery shows." I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But Ethan's little hands were trembling, his eyes filling with tears. "I'm not lying," he cried. "He said someone would help him." "A woman. He said tomorrow night you won't be in pain anymore." "Pain? What pain? I wasn't sick." Daniel stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. "Enough! You're upsetting your mother." He grabbed his own cup, lifted it to his lips, and drank deeply. "See? It's fine. Nothing's wrong." But the way his eyes stayed locked on mine as he swallowed, watching me, made something inside me twist. I didn't drink that tea. Later that night, when Daniel went to bed, I sat beside Ethan's bed. He was curled up tight under the blanket, eyes red from crying. "Sweetheart," I whispered, brushing his hair from his forehead. What did you hear exactly? Ethan hesitated, glancing at the door. Dad said we have to wait until tomorrow, that someone will come when it's dark. He said after that, you'll stop asking questions. I felt my stomach turn. Did you see who he was talking to? He shook his head. No, just heard him in his office. I think he forgot to close the door. My fingers went cold. Daniel was always careful, always neat, always private. I kissed Ethan's forehead and waited until he fell asleep. Then I crept to the kitchen, poured the tea Daniel had made into the sink, and sniffed the cup. It smelled faintly of chamomile and something bitter, like almonds. My heart began to race. I went to the living room where Daniel's briefcase was lying open beside the sofa. He rarely left it there. I peeked inside. There were papers, receipts, and at the bottom, an unlabeled brown envelope. Inside were 2 items that made my knees weaken: a signed insurance document with my name on it, and a small vial with clear liquid residue inside. I pressed my shaking hands against my mouth to stop the scream rising in my throat. Ethan had been right, and if I hadn't listened, if he hadn't spoken up, that cup of tea might have been the last thing I ever tasted. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house felt louder. Every shadow felt alive. Daniel's soft snoring from the bedroom no longer comforted me. It terrified me. I lay there beside him, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long he had been planning this. By morning, I had made up my mind. I had to know the truth. Completely. No matter how painful. Before I continue, take a moment to subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive, stories that remind us how love and danger sometimes wear the same face. When Daniel left for work that morning, he kissed my cheek as usual. His lips felt cold. "You'll feel better soon," he said softly, almost like a promise. Then he was gone. I waited until his car disappeared down the street before rushing to his home office. Ethan was still asleep, his small body bundled in his blanket. Daniel's office was immaculate, too immaculate. Every file was labeled, every drawer locked. But on the desk, something caught my eye. His phone. He had left it behind. My hands shook as I unlocked it using his birthday. The messages made my throat tighten. One stood out, from a number saved as MR. "Everything's ready. Just make sure she drinks it. You'll get your share right after my heart pounded." There were more messages. "Don't worry, Daniel. No one will suspect anything. You're doing the right thing. Once she's gone, the debt's gone too." Debt? What debt? Scrolling further, I found a bank transfer receipt. $25,000 to an unknown account. The memo line read, "Consulting fee." That was the moment the truth began to sink in. My husband was in some kind of trouble, and I was supposed to be his way out. I snapped photos of every message, every document, then sent them quietly to my own phone. I didn't know who MR was, but I knew one thing. Daniel wasn't acting alone. I heard Ethan's small footsteps behind me. "Mom?" I turned quickly, forcing a calm smile. "Hey, sweetheart." He rubbed his eyes. "Is Dad gone?" "Yes, baby." "He's gone." Ethan hesitated, then said, "Can we go somewhere today?" "Just us?" I nodded. "That's exactly what we're going to do." I packed a small overnight bag, clothes for both of us, some cash, and my phone charger. But before leaving, something told me to check Daniel's desk one last time. There was a drawer with a hidden latch beneath. Inside, wrapped in a white napkin, was a small bottle labeled aconitum. I wasn't a doctor, but I knew that name. Monkshood, wolf's bane, a deadly poison. My hand started trembling so badly that I almost dropped it. Suddenly, I heard the sound of gravel crunching outside. Daniel's car. He was back. Too soon. I grabbed the bottle and shoved it into my purse, snapping the drawer shut. My heart raced as I hurried Ethan toward the back door. "Mom, what's happening?" he whispered, clutching my hand. "I'll explain later, honey." "We just need to go." We slipped out through the garden gate just as the front door opened. Daniel's voice echoed through the hallway. "Evelyn? You home?" I froze. His tone wasn't angry. It was soft, almost cautious, like a hunter calling his prey. I pulled Ethan close, whispering, "Stay quiet." We crouched behind the tall hedge until his footsteps faded. Then we ran. I didn't stop until we reached the small park near the library where I worked. My chest burned, and Ethan's breath came in quick, frightened gasps. We sat on a bench under the old maple tree. Rain had started again, thin and cold. "Mom," Ethan said softly, "is Dad mad at us?" I looked at his innocent face, so much like Daniel's, and my heart broke. "No, baby," I whispered, "but Dad made a mistake. A big one, and we have to be careful until we fix it." He nodded slowly, though I knew he didn't understand. I called my old friend, Linda, a nurse who had known me for years. "I need help," I said, my voice trembling. "Can you meet me somewhere private?" She agreed to meet at a cafe downtown. When she arrived, I showed her the small vial and the messages. Her face went pale. "Evelyn, this is serious," she said. "Aconitum is lethal even in small doses. Where did you get this?" I told her everything, from Ethan's warning to the strange smell of almonds. Linda exhaled sharply. "You can't go back home." "Not yet, I know," I said quietly. "But I have to find out who MR is." Linda frowned. "I'll run that number through a friend who works at the hospital. Maybe it's someone in the system that gave me a flicker of hope," until my phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. "Where are you? You forgot your purse. I found it in the kitchen. Let's talk. Please come home." The world seemed to tilt for a second. My purse, the one that now held the vial of poison. I had to think fast. I looked at Linda, panic rising in my chest. "He knows." He must have seen the drawer open. She grabbed my arm. "Evelyn, listen to me. You can't go back. He's desperate. He might do anything now." But as I stared at the message again, another thought clawed at me. If Daniel was desperate enough to kill me for money, what would he do when he realized Ethan had overheard him? My blood ran cold. Fear does strange things to time. Every minute that day felt like an hour. Every sound made me jump. I kept glancing over my shoulder as if Daniel's shadow was following me. After Linda left, I sat in the cafe for nearly an hour, pretending to read, while my mind kept looping the same question. How long had he been planning this? But before I tell you what happened next, take a second to subscribe if you haven't already. It means more than you know. These stories remind us that trust can be both the safest thing we give and the deadliest. I decided to stay at a small motel near the highway that night. It was old, quiet, and anonymous. I checked in under a different name, Evelyn Moore. Funny, the last time I'd used my maiden name was 20 years ago. Ethan sat on the bed clutching his stuffed bear. His little face looked pale. "Mom," he said softly, "is Dad going to find us?" I forced a smile I didn't feel. "No, sweetheart. Not if we stay smart." Inside, I was anything but calm. My phone buzzed again and again. Calls, texts, all from Daniel. "Evelyn, please, I'm worried about you. You left the stove on. I just want to make sure you're safe. You're overreacting. Come home and we'll talk." Every message sounded perfectly reasonable, caring even. But that was Daniel's specialty. Calm, controlled manipulation. I couldn't risk replying. Instead, I called Linda again. "Did you find anything about that number?" There was a pause. Then her voice came, low and hesitant. "Evelyn, you're not going to like this. Tell me." "The number's registered to Margaret Rowe." She used to work as a nurse at the same clinic where Daniel's company handles insurance claims. She was fired 2 months ago for falsifying medical records. Margaret Rowe. M.R. The name clicked in my head like a lock turning. So she's helping him? I whispered. It looks that way. Evelyn, I think this goes beyond money. Before I could respond, someone knocked on my motel door. 3 slow knocks. I froze. Mom? Ethan whispered, clutching my arm. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear. Stay here, I mouthed, reaching for the lamp beside the bed. The knocks came again, firmer this time. I peeked through the curtain. It wasn't Daniel. It was a woman. Mid-40s, wearing a dark coat, her hair pulled back tightly. Her face was half hidden by the rain. I cracked the door open an inch. Can I help you? She smiled faintly. Mrs. Carter? My name is Margaret. I think we need to talk. Every instinct in my body screamed to slam the door. I don't know who you are. Yes, you do, she said calmly. And I think you know what's in that little bottle you took. My breath caught. Don't worry, she continued. I'm not here to hurt you. Daniel made mistakes. Big ones. I was just supposed to help him clean up the mess. By killing me? I snapped. She sighed as if tired. I told him I didn't want to do it. He said he'd already gone too far. He owes people money, Evelyn, the kind of people who don't forgive. He thought if you were gone, he could cash the insurance and disappear. My stomach twisted. And you were going to help? Margaret looked down. Rain dripped from her hair. Not anymore. He's panicking. He thinks you've already gone to the police. I stared at her, trying to read her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because he called me this morning, she whispered. He said if he can't find you, he'll take Ethan instead. The room spun. My knees nearly gave out. Margaret grabbed my arm. You have to go now. I can buy you some time, but you need to disappear. Disappear, I repeated, my voice breaking. She nodded. There's a police detective I know. His name is Howard Lane. He's the only one who believed me when I got fired. Tell him everything. Show him the messages. He'll protect you. Before I could speak, she pressed a slip of paper into my hand and turned toward the rain. Wait, I called. Why are you helping me? She stopped at the edge of the parking lot. Because once upon a time, I trusted the wrong man too. Then she disappeared into the night. I closed the door, locking it twice. My hands were shaking so badly I could hardly breathe. Ethan clung to me, his eyes wide. Mom, he whispered. Was that Dad's friend? Yes, baby, I said softly, pulling him close. But she's not our friend. That night, I sat awake beside the motel window, clutching my phone, watching every car that passed. I knew Daniel would find us. It was only a matter of time. At 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a photo. It was of our house. The living room lights on, and standing in the middle of it was Daniel, smiling, holding Ethan's favorite teddy bear. The caption read, "Come home, Evelyn." Before I lose my patience, I stared at the screen, my heart thundering in my chest. He knew where we were. He wanted me scared. But what he didn't know was that I was done running. That message, that photo, it was the final straw. Something inside me snapped that night. The fear that had kept me frozen turned into something else, determination. Daniel thought I'd keep running, but he forgot one thing. I wasn't the same fragile woman he married. I was a mother, and no one threatens my child. But before I tell you what I did next, take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. Real stories like this remind us that love without honesty isn't safety. It's a trap. The next morning, I went straight to the address Margaret had written on that slip of paper. A small precinct on the edge of the city. The building looked worn, like the kind of place where people still believed in doing the right thing. Detective Howard Lane was waiting inside. Tall, calm eyes, maybe in his 60s. The kind of man who'd seen too much, but still cared. When I told him everything, the tea, the messages, the poison, he listened without interrupting. Then he said something that made me both relieved and terrified. "Mrs. Carter," he said slowly, "we've been looking into your husband for a while." My mouth went dry. "What?" He nodded. "We suspect he's been working with a small fraud network, using life insurance policies to cash out early deaths. Margaret Rowe was his contact inside the system. We didn't have enough proof until now I slid my phone across the table. You do now." He studied the photos, the messages, the bottle I'd saved in a sealed bag. Then he looked up. "You realize, Evelyn, this isn't just attempted murder. It's organized crime." The words hit hard. "So what do we do?" He leaned forward. "We set a trap." That night, I returned home. I know it sounds insane, going back to the house of the man who wanted me dead, but it was the only way. The detectives' team was watching from across the street, hidden in an unmarked van. They wired me with a small recorder, just enough to catch a confession. My heart was pounding so loudly that I could barely hear as I unlocked the front door. The air inside was heavy, still carrying that faint scent of chamomile. "Daniel?" I called softly. He stepped out from the hallway, calm, smiling. "Evelyn." Finally, he looked exactly the same, but I wasn't. "I was worried," he said, walking toward me. "You just disappeared." I held my ground. "You mean escaped?" His smile faltered. "Come on now, don't start with that again." "You're tired, Evelyn. You're confused." "Confused?" I whispered. "About what? The poison or the insurance you signed behind my back?" For the first time, his face hardened. "You shouldn't have gone through my things. And you shouldn't have tried to kill me." Silence. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then his tone softened again. That careful, practiced tone he always used when manipulating me. "I wasn't going to hurt you," he said quietly. "It was supposed to be painless." I felt my stomach twist. "You actually say that like it makes a difference?" He sighed and stepped closer. "You don't understand. I didn't have a choice. I owed money. Dangerous people. Margaret promised it would be quick. You'd go peacefully. Ethan would still have the money my breath caught. You were willing to let your son grow up thinking his father killed his mother? He wouldn't have known," Daniel snapped. "It would have looked natural. You'd have just not woken up." I felt tears sting my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "You looked me in the eye and served me that tea." He flinched. "I thought I could do it. But when Ethan came in," his voice broke for the first time. "I couldn't. I poured it out after you left the kitchen." "Liar," I whispered. "You drank it yourself, to prove it was safe." He smiled faintly. "Exactly. See? I couldn't hurt you." The calm in his eyes scared me more than anger ever could. He didn't think he'd done anything wrong. I took a slow breath. "Daniel, please. Just tell me the truth. Who are these people you owe money to?" He hesitated. "They're not people you can run from. But once I cash the policy, it'll be over." "That policy is invalid now," I said coldly. "I already told the police." His face changed. The mask fell. "You what?" "Detective Lane has everything. Your messages, the vial, the documents. It's over." He froze. For one long second, I saw the fear flash in his eyes. Then it turned to rage. "You stupid woman," he hissed. "You think they'll protect you? You think this ends here?" He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. I cried out, not in pain, but to signal. Outside, a car door slammed, then another. "Daniel Carter!" a voice shouted from the front door. "Police!" Step away from her. Daniel turned, too late. Officers burst through the entryway, weapons raised. He stumbled backward, hands up, fury twisting his face. "She set me up," he shouted. "She's lying." But it didn't matter anymore. The evidence, the recordings, everything was on tape. They handcuffed him right there, in the same kitchen where he'd brewed that poison tea. As they led him out, he turned to look at me one last time. His voice was almost gentle. "You'll regret this, Evelyn." "You always do." I didn't say a word. When the door closed behind him, I felt my knees give way. For the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Ethan ran from the hallway and wrapped his arms around me. "Mom? Is it over?" I held him close, my heart breaking with relief. "Yes, baby," I whispered. "It's over." But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Not completely. Because sometimes, even when the danger is gone, the fear stays. The night Daniel was arrested, it rained until morning. Heavy, endless rain, the kind that drowns the world in silence. I watched from the window as the police car disappeared down the street, its red lights fading into the fog. I thought I'd feel relief. I thought I'd feel safe again. But all I felt was empty. Before I continue, make sure you've subscribed and shared where you're watching from. Real stories like this remind us that evil doesn't always hide in strangers. Sometimes it wears the face you kiss goodnight. Detective Lane came by later that morning. His expression was grave but kind. "Evelyn," he said gently, "I know this has been hell, but I need you to understand. This is far from over." I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where it all began. Ethan was asleep upstairs. "What do you mean?" He placed a file on the table. "Daniel wasn't just working alone with Margaret. There's a ring, 5 people, maybe more, manipulating life insurance payouts using falsified medical files. Your case just gave us the first solid lead." I blinked, my stomach turning. "So, he wasn't the mastermind?" Lane shook his head. "No, he was a pawn, desperate, in debt, and easy to control. But whoever's behind this, they don't like loose ends." I wrapped my arms around myself, shivering. "You think they'll come after us?" He met my eyes. "We'll keep protection on you for a while, but be careful who you trust. Margaret's still missing." The name hit like a slap. Missing? She never made it home after she warned you. Her car was found near the river, door open, engine still running. My blood ran cold. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room. Every tick of the clock echoed like footsteps. I kept replaying everything. The tea, the insurance forms, Daniel's confession. How long had I lived beside someone capable of that kind of cruelty? How had I missed the signs? The phone rang, jolting me from my thoughts. Unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello?" At first, there was silence. Then a woman's voice, faint, strained. "Evelyn." My heart stopped. "Margaret?" A long pause. Then, "You shouldn't have gone to the police." To the police, I stood, trembling. "What? Where are you?" "You don't understand," she whispered. "They don't stop. Daniel was supposed to be the last one. Now they'll come for you too. You have something they need." "What are you talking about?" "The vial," she said weakly. "You think it's just poison?" "It's not. It's evidence. Proof of what they were doing. The formula was traced from an experimental drug. It links back to them. Don't..." The line went dead. I tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. I felt the world tilt around me. The vial, the one I'd given to Detective Lane's team, wasn't just a weapon. It was the key to something bigger. Suddenly, I heard movement outside. A faint crunch of gravel. My breath caught. I turned off the light and peeked through the curtain. A car sat parked across the street. Engine idling, lights off. I grabbed my phone and called Lane immediately. "Someone's outside," I whispered. "Stay calm," he said. "Officers are nearby." "We'll check it out." But minutes passed, like hours. The car didn't move. Finally, 2 police cruisers turned the corner, their lights flashing. The dark car sped off into the night. When Lane arrived, I was shaking. "They know," I said. "Whoever they are, they know about the vial." He nodded grimly. "We'll relocate you and your son for a while. It's not safe here anymore." By dawn, I was packing again. Clothes, photos, a few keepsakes. Ethan watched quietly from the doorway. "Mom, are we running away again?" I knelt and cupped his face in my hands. "No, sweetheart. We're staying safe." That's all. He frowned. "Will Dad hurt us again?" I felt my throat tighten. "No, baby. Dad's gone." He studied me for a long moment, then said softly, "You look sad." I smiled faintly. Sometimes being safe still feels sad. As we drove away from the house, our house, I looked back one last time. Every window, every memory, every lie was sealed inside those walls. And though Daniel was behind bars, I could still feel his shadow following me. Sometimes survival isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a harder one. Learning how to live again. But I didn't know then that my story wasn't over. Because 2 weeks later, I'd receive something that would turn everything upside down again. A letter from Daniel, written from his jail cell. 2 weeks passed. We were staying in a quiet house outside the city, part of the protection program Detective Lane had arranged. It was peaceful. The kind of quiet that almost feels fake, like the world is holding its breath. Every morning, I watched Ethan play in the yard, chasing sunlight through the tall grass. He laughed again now. That was something. That laughter had saved my sanity more than once. But peace is fragile. Before I tell you how it ended, take a moment to subscribe and share where you're watching from. Real stories like this remind us. Sometimes the monsters we survive keep whispering long after they're gone. It was a Sunday when the letter arrived. No return address, just my name, Evelyn Carter, written in Daniel's neat handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. The scent of old paper and something faintly metallic filled the air. His words were written carefully, every letter deliberate. "Evelyn, I know you hate me. You should. I don't expect forgiveness. But before you destroy this letter, you need to hear me out. I never meant for any of this to touch Ethan. I thought I could protect him by keeping him in the dark. You were supposed to be safe. It was only supposed to scare you, to make them think I'd gone through with it. But when you found out, I lost control, and they lost patience. Margaret didn't disappear because of you. She disappeared because she tried to help you. They're still out there. They'll come for me next, but they'll come for you too if they think you still have that vial. There's a file hidden in the attic, behind the old chest. It has names, all the people involved, all the accounts. Give it to Lane. It's the only way to end this. I'm sorry, Evelyn, for everything. Daniel." My hands went cold. I sat there for a long time just staring at the letter. Part of me wanted to tear it apart, to burn it and be done with everything that carried his name. But another part, the part that still remembered the man I thought he was, couldn't. I called Lane immediately. Within an hour, he was at the safe house with 2 officers. "Are you sure it's not a trick?" I asked. "Maybe," he said. "But if there's even a chance that file exists, we need to find it." We drove back to the old house. It felt strange walking through those doors again, like stepping into a ghost's shadow. The air was stale, thick with dust and memories. Lane climbed into the attic while I waited below, clutching Ethan's hand. After a few minutes, I heard him call out, "Evelyn." He wasn't lying. He came down holding a small wooden box, the same one Daniel's father had given him years ago. Inside were papers, photos, and flash drives. evidence of every transaction, every policy, every name connected to the network. "This is enough to shut them down," Lane said quietly. I nodded, tears blurring my vision. "Then let's finish this." Weeks later, it was over. The arrests came quietly, one after another. Margaret's car was found, her body identified. The people behind the scheme, lawyers, doctors, investors, all exposed because of Daniel's confession and that file. Daniel himself never made it to trial. A week before his court date, he was found dead in his cell. No signs of struggle, no clear cause. Some said heart attack, others said justice. When Lane told me, I just nodded. I didn't cry. There was nothing left to cry for. Months passed. Ethan and I moved again, somewhere smaller, quieter. I started volunteering at the library again, helping children read after school. Life had color again, but it was softer now, fragile, like something precious that had been broken and glued back together. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ethan came to me holding 2 mugs of tea. "Chamomile," he said, smiling shyly. "I made it this time." For a second, I froze, old memories flickering behind my eyes. Then I smiled and took the cup. "Thank you, sweetheart." He hesitated. "It's okay, Mom. You can trust me." And for the first time in a long time, I did. I took a sip. The warmth spread through me, gentle and real. As I watched my son laugh in the fading light, I realized something. Sometimes survival isn't about escaping danger. It's about learning to trust again, even when you're terrified. And sometimes the smallest voice, the one whispering, "Don't drink that tea," can end up saving your life. If this story touched your heart, leave a like and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And remember, trust is fragile. Protect it carefully. For more true stories like this one, subscribe and turn on the bell. You never know which story might change the way you see people forever.